As I look at the record-breaking numbers that have occurred in just recent time, whether it be the last Women's World Cup or what's happening within the Big Ten around fan engagement and crowds at volleyball and basketball games on the women's side, what it says is that people are ready to support women's athletics. And I think some of that has to do, again, with us understanding the importance, not just at Illinois, but within the Big Ten and then, nationally and globally, is representing women in those spaces there where they can be seen beyond the court itself, right? And so as we think about social media, digital media, just all those points of content, that's a place where that representation has to continue to grow. It's an incredible experience to attend those games and watch our women perform and compete in a way that's meaningful and impactful. And you see those young people that are in attendance, whether they be male or female, and their absolute fandom for our female competitors, and that matters. It shapes future generations of behavior.
I think, and we were talking about the explosion of women's sports, and I think we will look back at last year's women's basketball Final Four as what I would call a bird magic moment in the progression of women's athletics. I think people look back at the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson Final Four as really this moment for men's basketball where it just hit this accelerator. And I think last year's Final Four on the women's side, time will show to have been one of those comparable moments.
One moment that is fresh in my mind is our recent game against Indiana on the women's basketball side, right? And we had a great crowd that day, but probably the most significant importance to me is what we did after the game. Is we had an autograph signing opportunity until the end of the line. And it took over an hour for that to occur. And it was because of all of the people that were in that line, but certainly lots of girls. And to see those young girls have the chance to interact with our women and the conversations that they were fostering and connecting, because it does position them to say, wow, I see you, I know you, I want to be like you, and I can, and this is a place where this can happen. And that's true at many places, but it's one of those pieces where that's really exciting to me. And your daughter Tate was in that line. Mm-hmm. She was one of the last ones to go through, and she got a chance to interface with all those student athletes. She has a favorite on that team.
She does.
And even just what that means to our student athletes, because they get a sense of ownership and an understanding of their responsibility of being the role models that they are. And they take that very seriously, but it's also something that helps build their own confidence as collegiate women student athletes. Mm-hmm. And so there's such a mutual benefit that's happening there. And those are moments where, at least in my experience, it's so tangible.
And to your point earlier, the other person who was with Tate at the end of that line was our son.
Absolutely.
And for the first time that I can remember, there's a 5-year-old boy who has favorite women's basketball players. It's not just because he's a boy that he's going to just look up to the men's basketball players. He's being introduced to and being excited about being around our women's student athletes. And that's really, really cool. And I think will serve him, and I think hopefully all of us really well, that as a lot of these young boys are being raised, they're being raised in a way to view their female counterparts as the equals and somebody who's worth celebrating in the same way that they traditionally have celebrated the men's athletes. And that's for both of them to have that opportunity was really powerful, and I think speaks to what I hope the future holds for all of us.